What's up, guys, and welcome to Built to Belong. I'm your host, Cameron Cisneros, and this series is about one thing: proving that people who win long term are the ones who refuse to hide who they are to build what they want. Today's guest didn't just refuse to hide, she turned every statistic that said she wouldn't make it into fuel. Claudienne Hibbert-Smith was pregnant at 14, and people saw doom. She saw a decision point. Graduated top of her class, went to the University of Florida, got her real estate license at 21, bought her first duplex the same year, and refused to let anyone tell her what her ceiling was. And 20 years later, over $1 billion in real estate sales. You heard that right, over $1 billion across the board. And she's the founder of the National Association of Real Estate Women, teaching agents for free every single week. Partnership with rapper Trina, bringing culture and commerce together. And she owns a K-2 through 12 school in Miami Gardens with her husband. Full circle from teen mom to education champion. But here's what Built to Belong is really about. Claudienne didn't just build wealth. She built a movement. She's proving that Black excellence belongs in every single luxury deal, every beachfront estate, every generational wealth conversation. This is not just a motivational story. This is a blueprint. And I am so excited, Claudienne. Thank you for coming on today. Let's dive into it.
Thank you for having me, Cameron. It's just so amazing to always be in your presence. You're always a burst of energy. Let me tell you, as you were reading, and maybe not even reading, but just communicating to us my little bio, I was getting energized and fired up. And so thank you for always being that nice ball of energy.
I want to start this off by taking you back to I made that in a year moment. You told the story about seeing your friend's real estate agent's commission check and saying, I make that amount in 1 year. You quit your job the next week. Most people see that gap and do nothing. So when you saw it and you moved immediately, what was different about you in that moment? Like, what made you trust yourself when you had no track record yet?
You know what made me trust myself? Me. And because I had already set a goal to be very successful, I had already set a target. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to accomplish the target, but you do just set the target. And when you set the target, things will pop up and you'll know when to move. And so when I saw my mentor, which actually was not my friend at the time, she's my friend now, but she was my mentor. And when I saw her buy that house, okay, and that agent made $1,000 on that one deal, 2 days later, not a week, Cameron, 2 days later, I quit my job. I said, enough is enough. I'm going to go and do this business because how is it possible that it takes me a whole year to make $40,000. I'm committed to a time block. I'm committed to a schedule. It didn't make sense. Now, what I thought would be easy it did not come with easy. It came with challenges. But can you imagine working deals out for buyers and sellers, and at the end of the day, the compensation that you deserve is there? It's a win-win. You're creating legacy for people, or you're helping them to create the legacy. And I'm able to benefit from that through real estate commissions.
It's incredible. What did your family say? Like when you told them 48 hours after you quit your job, like what did your family have to say about that?
I don't even know if I communicated that to them. See, I had my own apartment and I was a single mom. So I had to make decisions for me. And I'll share with you something, and I still do this till this day. You know, even when I came to EXP, I had a team of 14, maybe 15 agents. And I'll be honest with you, Cameron, I did not have a conversation with the team on coming to EXP because I did not want somebody's confusion or lack thereof. I know what they were going to think, but I did not even allow it to occur. And I went. Now, when I went and got my team, and everybody came. And sometimes you have to make bold decisions. So I made a bold decision to leave my job. And I honestly, it's been some time. I don't honestly remember having a conversation with my family. Why? Because I was a single mom and I needed to do what was best for me in the time.
Yeah. 100%. And I relate to that so much. You have to go. If you have that intuition, that gut instinct, you've got to move on it. There's something inside of you that's telling you got to move. Then any of those external viewpoints, like they're not in your shoes. They don't have that same walk of life. Like you knew what was best for you in that moment. And
Yes,
that's the whole point of being a leader.
I do have that thing where, you know, most people will aim and then fire. I kind of fire it and think about the aim. And so I work a little bit backwards, but I make the decision and I figure the rest out along the way. And so decisions are huge. But I did not speak to my family about quitting my job. I just went for it. And I'll be honest with you, I did not even know how to get my license. I did
Really?
not want, yeah, because think about if I would have taken the time to do the research, if the research did not match what I thought, then I may not have done it. It turns out I only needed 63 hours. I knocked it out in a week. I didn't take a 4-month course. I had no job, so I had the time, and I knocked it out. I failed the test twice, and then you know what? I said, you know what, Claudienne, you need to buckle down. I buckled down and like flying, I just aced it.
Yeah. Did you have any money saved at the time
No,
when you quit?
I'm 20, 21. I'm a single mom. I'm on food stamps, big checks. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, the block cheese and the gallon of milk, and they tell you what cans of milk to buy for the babies, Medicaid. I still have my Medicaid cards. I don't use them, but I was cleaning up and I said, oh my goodness, look at my Medicaid cards. I had a Medicaid card for myself and my son. And I just share with you this, when you're on Medicaid and those type of programs, they determine what doctors you go to. And so I'm just thankful to be in this space right now where I get to choose.
For real. What would you say to someone who's in that same position who might be scared to jump?
Jump.
Just do it.
Go. Just go. What's the worst thing that could happen? You tried. At least you tried. Even if you failed, you tried. And how many times did I have to fail to get to where I am? A lot of times. It's not every time I jump the gun and make a drastic decision that things worked out. No, but the more that I try, the more that I do, the more chances I get of winning too.
Yeah. It's who falls forward the most the fastest, because it's only
right.
temporary defeat until you accept it as permanent failure.
Yep. I love it.
At 14, you had to face this big decision. You were pregnant at 14. You didn't want to be that statistic. What was a specific conversation or moment that you had decided that those statistics that people were throwing at you weren't going to be a part of your story?
When they told it to me, it was a lot. Just imagine you're running in a race and you're first, and the whole stadium is go. That's what it was like, but in a negative way. There were more people telling me what my life was going to look like because let me just be honest for a second. I was always in trouble. By the time I got to my graduating high school, and most people don't know what this means, but I had over 100 referrals in the system. That means at least a minimum of 100 times it was documented that I had done something at my school that I was not supposed to do. And so it was challenging for me. I skipped school. I got pregnant at 14. I did some things that I should not have been doing. So I get it. But I believe that even when somebody is going down that path, there's a way to speak life into people. And you just never know. Their life could change. But I'm going to tell you something. There was a lot of people telling me what I was not going to do and who I was going to become. I would be in jail by the time I was in 12th grade. In fact, I'd have 3 or 4 kids by the time I got to the 11th grade. I said, what are these people talking about? And then a flip side of that, Cameron, I was an A-B student. I had very few B's. And so it was a very weird mix, because most kids that are in trouble don't usually have good grades, right?
That's right.
Grades, and I knew when it was time for me to go to college that my conduct grades would not be on my transcript, and I knew that. But let me tell you, 9th grade, 10th grade, I kind of got my act together. Mm-hmm. I had the baby. Amari is now 31 years old. He's doing his thing. I'm so proud of him. He's gone to college, played basketball, full scholarship, and I have made it my business for him to be successful. And so I'm going to tell you this. It was a mere fact that those people were telling me what I was not going to do and what I would do in terms of the negative. So they didn't talk success to me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prove these people wrong. Literally, I must be wired this way, because when you tell me I can't do something, oh, baby, I'm showing up and I'm going to show out.
I'll do it twice. Yeah. Yeah. So who believed in you when it mattered most at that time?
You know what? I lived on a block of professionals. I remembered, man, I could name so many people. Pastor Lamb, who pastored us for many years. The pastor believed. Just y'all taking one little mistake and y'all deeming her life, negative. And then I had Tina Howell, who now owns, I saw this morning, she just closed on her 18th Wingstop. She was my 7th grade teacher. She was my 7th grade teacher, who was also the mentor that allowed me to come with her to buy the house. So that's really how I got into real estate. And so I would say Tina Howells was one of the people that said, you know what, I'm going to help her change her narrative, such that she even asked my mom if I could come live with her. And so I lived with her for a couple of years, and it was a great, let me just say this. That was I then saw what could be. I saw then what the possibilities could be. And it's crazy you asked me that question because I was just talking to her yesterday, and I was just in such awe and gratitude, like, thank you for not giving up. And I had it, but that it still needed to be, trained. It needed to be, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Refined. And she was able to do that for me. She taught me about money. I flew on private jets with her. So that was earlier on. So now I'm seeing what my life could be like from, just a little Chuck E. Cheese experience to going to Super Bowls. And so it's been an amazing run.
What did you feel like you had to prove to yourself versus proving to others?
Really, I just know that when I set a target, I prove it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I set the target, and then the challenge is myself. A lot of times you'll hear people say when you're thinking about something, you don't have to say it out loud. Well, I say it out loud because if I say it out loud, that means I really got to do it. Okay, I can't.
Now you got to, you committed now.
I'm committed. The people heard it.
Yep.
They'll be looking for me. And so it helps. It just helps me to complete the task. And this is just how I'm wired.
Yeah. And being a mother so young, like, how did that shape your hunger? You hear a lot of people talk about how, having kids has limited them. How did that shape the way that you have the discipline and the motivation, how you execute?
Well, I want to back up a little bit because I don't believe that having my son at 14 created that piece of me. I believe that piece was innate. My dad was an entrepreneur, and maybe I got that from him. But when I was in kindergarten first, my classmate, which is now an old client of mine, Janika Berry, we would be in math, we would be in our class. And when it was time to take a math test, we wanted to make sure everything was right. And I wanted to beat her, she wanted to finish first. And we would battle back and forth. Years later, I ended up selling her and her family a home. But I've always been aggressive. Like, I've always wanted more. I've always wanted to be at the top. I've always wanted to have straight A's. Now, that's been innate. And now just adding on to it, I'm now learning. Well, I've already learned, but I'm still learning how to create targets and then just reverse engineer.
Yeah, 100%. You said the biggest challenge that you had overcame was being Black in a white, male-predominated field 20 years ago. I want you to paint the picture for people that weren't there. What did being Black in real estate actually look like in 2001? Like, what rooms weren't you invited to? Were you aware of those differences? Tell me more about that.
So I'm glad you asked me that question, and you always hear me talk about that situation. But the truth is, I didn't realize it until 10 years after. And so I came into this field with ignorance, and I don't mean that I'm dumb. I didn't know enough. I was not paying attention to it. And I truly believe that because it was not brought up at the time, I did not know. It wasn't something that I looked for. But as I look back, I realized even when I was getting awards, I'd be top 15, top 20, and everyone else looked different, right? There weren't even women in the running in the top 20. And so I went back and I looked and I said, oh my goodness, you can see it because you keep all of your magazines. And I'm like, wow, this was really true. So I believe my ignorance at the time helped me because it wasn't something that I would focus on. And that's just the honest truth. But being able to be in a space where I'm thriving because I don't have any noise, like there's really no guidance. My first company was a great company. I was there for 20 years. But really, every agent was on its own. Like, you're a real entrepreneur. You got to figure it out. And I don't think I realized it in the moment. I'm glad. But I did realize it after the fact as I went back and I started to look at the stats and I started to look at the culture. And then I also started to see a lot of change in the market space. There were a lot of people that looked like me now coming into the real estate space. There were a lot of people that looked like me starting to invest. Man, Cameron, I could not get my friends to invest in real estate. They're still my best friends today. But when I started at 21, 22 investing in properties, nobody understood. And then I didn't really have enough experience. So it was like, oh, this Claudienne does this. She comes up with something. She wants to bring us all along. You'll hear them say every time there's a business opportunity, she's dragging us along. And I think that was just one of those moments. They're all homeowners and investors now, but back then it was very difficult to be in that space. And so I recognize it today, but honestly, I believe because I didn't have knowledge at the time, I probably wouldn't have focused on it anyway. It probably made me just go quicker, faster, sooner. I believe that I was able to maneuver through that market.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing that you didn't realize it, right? Because you didn't have the internal monologue of like the negative whiplash of that, right? Ignorance was bliss at that time. It's same thing for me coming to Oklahoma in a place like this. Like I just put my blinders on. I knew I looked different. I'm not from around here. I'm from the East Coast, and it's what got me to where I am without the internal friction. Because sometimes we're our worst enemy.
Yes, you put those blockers up, and then it would stop you from calling. It would. Let me tell you, my first year in real estate, I'm a cold caller. I will warm call you. I will cold call you. I will call you. And that's what we learned. We learned that for 2 weeks. Being on the listing side of the transaction, you're going to have control of the market space, and you're going to be able to do more with the market space. And that Phil Claudienne, God rest his soul, taught us that for 2 weeks. They drilled. This is how you call. Here is a script. But I ended up calling a lady in Star Island. She said, well, how did you know I was interested in selling? I said, well, I just have some buyers. This was the script. I didn't even know where I was calling. Well, I have some buyers that are interested in moving into your area. And so I'm calling the homeowners in the area. Oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm thinking about selling my house at 123 Island. I'm like, huh? I only could dream and imagine about Star Island at the time. Like,
oh yeah.
This was an island that everybody wanted to at least drive one time, And I went on that appointment, and let me tell you, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so what if I would have had those blockers on? Now, I was smart back then too, okay? I knew that I was not going to go into that listing appointment alone. I collaborated with Tom Rabady out of my office. I don't know where Tom is, but he did that listing appointment with me. He collaborated. He had a skill set that I had not developed yet in real estate. He had come from a sales background. And the rest was history.
Love that you touched on the cold calling part, right? Because in order to, like, your bottom line in revenue is completely contingent upon the relationships that you're willing to build. So the fact that you're able to go out there and have that tenacity and that aggression, that's what you need. That's how you become successful in this. And it's the repetition behind it every single time. From Miami Gardens, you rep it hard. You've served as a realtor in the city for quite a bit. You're building a K through 12 school there. Talk to me about the intentionality of staying rooted in your community while building a billion-dollar empire. Like, why does where you build matter as much as what you build?
For a long time, I never really shared the story that I was a teen mom. And not that I was embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed and I wasn't ashamed. But I had this thing in my mind that I don't want kids thinking it is okay to have babies at such a young age, because what happens is that they see the story, which is compelling. Well, I think we will all agree. And then they see this level of success. But what they don't understand is everything in between. And so I was always afraid to share that story because I didn't want people to feel like it was okay at 14, 13, 15, 16 to just, Claudienne did it. She's successful. And so when I got to that point where I was very comfortable, I started to share the story. And then I realized how many young women I was helping. And so this was the journey of my community service. Even though I was always rooted in community service, I think it just took it to a different level. Yeah, I believe I want to make sure that when I am leaving this earth or when I am gone from this earth, people know me as the girl who will get it done, the girl who sold real estate, and the girl who was rooted in community. Why is that? Because too often people make it and they move and they never come back to the place that raised them. And so I think that I know for sure I am who I am because of this community right here, who not only raised me, built me, and made promises at some point, okay, that I could do great things. And so I don't want to forget that. I don't want to leave the girl who is a teen parent, or the girl who doesn't want to go to college and could be a real estate agent and be very successful at it. I want to be the person that speaks life into people, and it starts right here in my community.
That's right. Your success is directly proportional to your ability to problem solve, to impact, to cultivate relationships, to immerse yourself in this. Like, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
What would you say, like, in that journey? Like, just curious, like, what was one of the hardest roadblocks? Did you ever have, like, internal roadblocks in yourself, like the self-doubt? Like, you've done so much.
I mean, I'm sure I have. Like, there's not one roadblock that just stands out. You know, even with getting pregnant, you know, my mom was, at some point she became supportive. You know, she stood in the pain for me, you know. I don't know that I can put my hand on one particular thing per se, because I'm an overcomer.
That's right.
You know, a client of mine asked me the other day, well, Claudienne, what's your backup plan? I was like, what backup plan? I'm coming up with a solution. We get into closing. And we got to closing. And so I don't know that I even pride myself on all the failures, or I want to even remember the failure or the roadblock, I would say. Having my son, honestly, was not even a roadblock for me. It really took me to a whole nother level. I still was involved with my school. I became the vice president of my senior class. Like, I was still in the 1000 SAT club. I was still involved. We went to the games together. I couldn't be in the band, even though I wanted to be in the band, because I was working. I was working at Albertsons. And then we would take the bread at night, get the meats that they would discard that was still good. And on our way home, we would go feed the homeless. Like, I don't know that. And I look at my son today at 31, and I feel like he's doing amazing.
He is.
Like, I feel like he's been around the world and back. He's been to more places on earth than I've been. And so he's had great experiences. And, you know, I just look at it from a standpoint, I could have been held back. I could have flunked some grades if I would have they wanted me to go to a school called COPE, where pregnant teens went. I was like, no, I'm not going there. I'm staying right here in my school.
Right.
I'm excelling, right? I don't know if I could pinpoint, honestly, one challenge or one thing that I had to overcome. Like, if I didn't, it's now minor and I don't even remember.
I love that, though. I mean, it's honest, it's raw, it's real, right? Like, that's, and you shared really good perspective and experience on this, because you've got such a diverse background, meaning, like, you've gone through situations that not every 14-year-old would face, right? But you also had this, like, innate, like, I feel it, like, in your energy. You just have this drive in you. And as you got older and progressed, that energy just needed to get refined. Like, I talk a lot about frequencies, like living in a high frequency, having those high frequency, high vibrational habits that emulate the character that you're supposed to have. And you always had that crazy drive. Like, you have to be insane. You have to be fanatical. You have to be, like, absolutely so definitive, and your definitive means to end to achieve that thing. And for you, that was making this world a better place. That was building community and building culture. Like, I talked a little bit about how you founded the National Association of Real Estate Women, and you literally coach women for free every single week. And you're a multi-million-dollar producer. Like, as you progress in your career, we become more cognizant of our time. Your time is very valuable at this level. Like, why for free? What are you proving? What are you trying to do? What's your mission?
Well, so let me just clarify. So the National Association of Real Estate Women and a few good gentlemen, there is a free side that's every Monday at 9 a.m. But if you want to go in a deep dive, like, one of the things that I've learned going to seminars is that a lot of it is surface based. It's like, okay, you told me what you did, but how did you get there? What tools did you use? And so I've always made a promise to myself that when I made it, that I would go back and teach realtors what people would not want to teach me, because they were just too busy, or I was their competitor. The truth is, 10% of the people are going to do the work, the things that I'm telling them to do anyway. So why not give everybody an easy level, a free level of getting the information? And I don't hold back, okay? I do not bring people into my trainings for them to train. I am literally taking 20 years, 25 years of expertise, okay? And I'm sharing it. I'm still even developing myself. So what you saw last year from Claudienne may not be the Claudienne that you're going to see in 2026, because I'm also getting educated. I'm also still going to seminars. I'm also speaking on stage. I just spoke on a stage last week, and they said, well, Claudienne, you speak at 1, so you can come at 12 and leave at 2. I said, no, I want to learn too. I'm coming when it starts. I'm leaving when it ends, because I need to be a student too. And so with that being said, one of the reasons why I created NARU was to really deep dive and really show people what really to do to have 50 people at an open house in a market that's got so much uncertainty. And so there is a free side, but there's also a paid side, which is $39 a month. Why did I make it so cheap? Because I want the average person to come in there and be able to get the knowledge they need to dominate. And I'll tell you one more thing, Cameron. When I help make this particular space more professional, more skillful, we all get looked at as professionals. Because too many times when I started this, I went to the University of Florida. When I became a realtor, I just put my degree on this. I had to take my degree and put it up on the wall because I'm like, wait a minute, why do y'all think realtors are just like slackers and we're not educated? Like, where is that narrative coming from? And so I want to really like kill that narrative. Yes, it only took me 63 hours, but I'm an educated woman. And what you're going to get in here is some skill set. You're going to get a little bit of hustle, and I'm going to figure some stuff out for you. And so that was one of the reasons why I created Naru.
That's right. I mean, that's how you're going to create impact, like not just nationally, but international impact. Like that's how the accessibility is everything, right? And you're creating that level for people to connect more with you and giving them the blueprint to take their, not just their business, their life. This is spiritual. This is financial. This is physical. Like it encompasses everything. You can't just be good in your business and have crappy relationships. You can't just have like it all intersects with each other. What do you think's like one of the most heartbreaking questions that women ask you on those calls?
I don't know if I get those questions.
Really?
I set the tone. You're probably not gonna come on my call with no kind of somberness. You're gonna come with high energy. The energy is through the roof that if you were feeling some kind of way, you're not feeling it anymore. Okay?
That's right.
It doesn't mean that we can't be sad. Doesn't mean that we can't get aggravated. I get aggravated every day. Okay? But how do we move through it? Okay? How do we get to the next, thing? How do we get through this thing called life? Okay? It's just one bite at a time. Right? One bite at a time. I had an agent the other day ask me, well, Claudienne, what are you doing between deals? I said, what do you mean what I'm doing between deals? Like how are you making money? Or what are you doing? I said, you're just getting started. I teach you guys, when you get in a contract, don't stop what you did to get into contract. Give that task to a processor so that you can go create. I said, I'm not even thinking about what am I going to do in the meantime. I'm thinking about how I'm going to generate the next 10 listings. And after we sell, that's one thing. But how we're going to sell the listings is the next thing. And number two, when we get in a contract, that's a whole nother thing. Like, it is not light work. And so I don't want to focus on what am I going to do in the meantime. So listen, you know why you're focused there? Because in your meantime, you should be printing door hangers and you should be going on every door in your community. You said you want to lose 30 pounds. You're going to walk the community. It's hot here in Miami. You're going to sweat. You can put on your little, your gear so you can sweat some more. And you're going to go talk to the neighbors and you're going to go put your door hangers on there. Let me tell you something. 2 days later, she ordered door hangers. She walked the community and she's starting to see the benefits of her labor. And so stop thinking about what am I going to do in between? Here's what you're going to do. Go to work. And I give you the tools. I'll give you the work. I will give you the work, but you got to implement them.
How many people that have got into this program have you seen go from stuck to six figures?
Oh my God. So we just really started in September. But what I can share with you is that I have beat in them, okay? Mentally, okay? What are your targets? What are your numbers? Okay, what do you want to make in GCI, gross commissionable income this year? Okay, you want to make 150,000? How many deals do you need per year? Okay, great. How many deals do you need per month? How many phone calls? How many contacts? This is a literal skill set. It is a game of numbers and a game of discipline and a game of consistency. And I believe if you have the wrong formula and you're doing all those, that's not good either. So you got people like Tony Robbins. You got people like Brian Buffini. You got I can go down the list of people that I've been coached by, the Mike Ferries, the Tom Ferries, that when you listen, it's like, well, did they get in a room and just all talk to each other? Because they're saying all the same thing. It might come out differently, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing and it works. So I'm not changing it,
That's right.
I might add my little spin onto it, but I'm going to go with what works.
Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel when you're like, you already had the people before you that spent all that time and spent all that money and all that research to see what works? Like, just follow along. And 2024, you had an incredible year. It was $377 million in sales just in 2024 alone. That's insane.
That's focus.
Yeah, yeah.
Mind, that's focus, that's being laser sharp. And I'll be honest with you, there's some times that I've navigated and said, oh, I want to try something different. And then you confuse the people. I mean, people are not calling you because they're like, well, is she doing real estate? Is she doing this? Like, you have to have a laser sharp focus. Like, my goal this year is to make $2 million in GCI. And I'll share with you, I don't have the time that I had before because it's a very large goal. Okay. So what am I going to be doing differently? Having conversations with Cameron. I'm going to make sure that I show up for every appraisal because I know that could kill a deal. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my calls, doing my follow-ups. I'm going to curate. It's work. Going on social media is not like, it's not like work. It's work. Yeah. I got to come up with what I'm talking about. What are we doing with homestead exemption? What do you guys think about 50-year mortgages? Are we for it? Are we against it? Let's talk about it. And so I have become the news outlet really for the real estate industry. And it's important because the American dream is to achieve home ownership. And we have to make sure that we do that and we continue to do that.
I mean, that's systems, that's leadership. That's how you drive that growth forward. I mean, that's culture. What do you think? What's the one hire that you had made that made the biggest difference for you?
One hire. I did not hire until about, I'd say 15 years into maybe like 13 years into the business. I had this preconceived notion that nobody would work as hard as me. Nobody would go, like there were nights and days that I did not sleep. And I was in my office in the morning. I showered at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, turned back around, went back into the office with no sleep. And I would do that for 3 days in a row. I was convinced, and I was always number one in my office. I was either number one or number two. I'm out of 130 agents in just one office. We top 20 for about a good 10 years. About 4,000 agents. That alone, I'm doing 80, 85 deals a year with no team. That is a lot of work. Now, I don't recommend it. And somebody said, you need an assistant. You need a processor. So I said, okay, let me try it. I put an ad out, and that was probably the first best thing that I ever did. I hired an assistant, 3, and the last one's been with me for almost 8 years.
Wow. Would you have hired sooner?
Absolutely. But this is what happens when you don't get the skill set, I was not trained on that. I didn't know. For 4 years, I did not have a database. Like what? Like I didn't know. Ignorance. And so when you become skilled, once you become, when hustle meant skill set for me, man, it was like music to your ears.
When you're building a team, like what do you look for?
I look for a duplication of me, honestly. Somebody who's full-time, somebody who's committed, somebody who's going to create, somebody who's not going to be jealous, somebody who's not going to want to be in competition with me. I'm very friendly with information. I will tell you anything. In fact, if you're working on the opposite side of the deal, sometimes I have to turn into a trainer because they're new. I'm not one of those realtors like, you need to call your broker. I'm like, no, you're using it as is, and now your addendum is for a different type of contract. So they need to, match. So you got to look at the bottom, see if you're using the crisp or the as is. And I walk people through because nobody did it for me.
That's right. I mean, that's super important. I mean, you need people like that in this industry. I've seen it myself. Like being new, my first deal, I got chewed out by the other side. It's hard, and I love that. We need more of that energy and that reciprocity in that, because honestly, like the more that we get to work together, then the better chance we're all going to get to the closing table on time.
Absolutely.
At least.
Listen, I'm in a deal right now, Cameron. I'm on the listing side. And I told that agent, listen, if you want this deal he's out of contract. There's no addendum. The escrow is at jeopardy. I'm not in the business of taking people's escrow or causing, problems, but we're not working with his buyer. They're going through our people, getting him situated. We're here to help. The goal is to get us to the closing table. However, we got to get there. As long as it obviously is in line with FREC and rules, etc., and integrity, morals.
Right.
But I said, hey, is your buyer open to using other lenders? Absolutely. His lender told me, well, Claudienne, I've got 40 deals on my table. I'll get back to you. I'm like, what? You don't tell that to another professional. Every deal should be important. I would never tell my client, I cannot talk to you right now because I'm doing X, Y, Z. I'm in an appointment. Give me 10 minutes. I'll give you a call right back.
That's right. I mean, the whole point, like, that drives this too is, we want to close the wealth gap for our community, right? That's your mission, is to narrow the wealth gap for African American families. You're not just talking about it. Like this, you're on the field, boots on the ground. What's the one thing that Black families don't understand about building wealth that keeps them stuck?
Real estate. Real estate.
Just jumping in?
Just you don't did you hear me say I've played Monopoly all my life? I'm a winner. I would win the Monopoly game. Nobody sat and said, Claudienne, transfer this knowledge that you're playing right here into real life. The house that my parents own. When you buy, multi-units. My first property was not my house that I live in. I bought a duplex. I bought another duplex. I bought a single family home. Nobody wanted to buy $60,000. The house right now is worth almost $800,000. Okay? I call it the Barney house because it was purple. Like, I couldn't get my community to see the vision. It's because we're not taught. Okay? We're not taught. It's a very big gap of education. And we don't know. If you don't know, you don't know what to do. And so I believe that, bridging the gap between what this could do for you. Listen, I'm in my 25,000 square foot commercial building right now. Okay. Now, why am I telling you that? I never thought, you're talking about Claudienne, who was 14 years old when she had a baby on food stamps. Okay. Now owns I want you to let that sit for a second. My husband called me up. He said, Claudienne, the pastor called me. He's ready to sell the building. I said, is it on the market? He said, no. I said, put a contract on it now. I stopped what I was doing. It was being sold for 3.5. We put it in for 3.3. I did not know how we were going to finance it. I did not know where we were going to get the money. I didn't even know what was required. Okay. I put the offer in and I figured the rest out later. Guess what? We got a grant for $450,000 that we don't have to pay back if we're here for 5 years. Girl, we are not selling this building. This building is going to our children's children. I made early investments in real estate. I had a property here in Opelika that I bought for $38,000. I was able to sell that for $500,000 and help me with the down payment here. I'm getting a little emotional because it's like, who would have thought? Like, who? Sometimes
it's insane.
I have to pinch myself sometimes.
Which it's incredible that, like, a lot of people give up a lot sooner than you did, and something inside of you kept going. And regardless of, like, beliefs or, like, spirituality or religion, like, the universe aligned you with the people that were going to put the opportunities in front of you, like, put that vision in your heart, in your mind, body, and soul. And, like, that's the thing that keeps you going. Like, faith in anything is a full-fledged fanatical belief something is true with no evidence. No evidence that it's there. Like it was in you the whole time, and there was nothing around you that showed that, like, that was promised on the other side of those risks, on the other side of those actions, which is incredible to see, like, what you could do if you freaking believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself more than anybody believes in you, because ultimately they could have believed in you, but if you didn't believe in you, none of that could have been possible.
That's really all that matters. When I came to EXP, I didn't know that they were the owners of Success Magazine. I didn't. And I didn't make the connection. So all of a sudden, I started getting the Success Magazine. I just thought it was a thing. And I kept the first copy that I ever got. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be featured in this magazine one day. 6 months in my new company, EXP. Mind you, I was with one company for 20 years. It takes a lot of courage to just say, I'm going to the next. Like, think about that. 20 years. I'm supposed to retire at this company. And I say, wait a minute, it's not time for me to retire. I got more impact to do. And so I come over here and I say, I'm going to be featured in this magazine. And 6 months in Orlando, I can never forget it. I'm introducing the president of, I didn't know I did not know who I was introducing until about 2 days before, because I don't read questions. I'm very good off the dome. I've got a lot of stuff in me that I could. And so I said, well, I better look at the questions. They sent them to me. And so I'm starting to read and I said, wait a minute. I'm getting ready to introduce who? I started sweating, But guess what? I got to shine in front of 1,000 people that time. And I was featured in the magazine, and we got some more big stuff coming up too. So I'm excited.
Yes, we do. You're right. That's internal alignment. Something in you is like, I'm going to be on there one day. And then just life puts you in situations that align with the congruency of your thoughts, your thought frequency. It's just incredible. I love that you had shared that. And I want to talk a little bit about your two kids. Okay. You named them Legend and Legacy, but those aren't casual names. Those are statements.
Yes.
What do those names mean to you, and what do you want them to inherit beyond the money? What do you want to pass on to them?
I want them to have good character. I want them to have integrity. I want them to know that they could do anything they put their minds to. And see, now, I'll share with you this. Their beginnings are going to be where I am today. So they don't have to start where I started, right? They don't got to start there. I'm now setting the new line, the new target of where they can start. And so they're going to have very good beginnings, right? And I don't believe everybody needs to have humble beginnings and just, that story. And I just want them to know that they have parents who care for them, to help them. We are going to rally behind them. And I want them to just know that they could really do whatever it is that they want to do. And mom and dad and family are there to support them.
Love that.
I want them to know that school is important. I want them to know that education is important. I want them to know that entrepreneurship is important. I changed my shirt earlier, but the shirt I had on earlier said, more money, more options. I want them to know that money is important. I am not that person that's going to say, oh, no, I'd rather be happy than have money. Guess what? I want money so that we can have the things that we want. We can decide, do we want to fly private? We could decide, do we want to go first class? We can decide, we can go anywhere in the world when we have the ability to it's not just about money. It's about character, integrity. And let me tell you something, that's a powerful mix.
It is. That is a powerful mix. And there's so much negative connotations around building wealth and money, and instilling that, hey, money is a tool. It's an amplifier of the essence of who you already are. Like, money is not the root of all evil, and right. A penny saved is not a penny earned. Like, yes. That is not how you're going to build wealth. Breaking that stigma and breaking them out of that, you're putting them in the position that I imagine you wish your parents were able to do at the time, and generations before that. Like, you are the parent that would have saved you when you were a kid. You are the parent that would have been your superhero. And that's freaking incredible.
Yeah. And I'll share with you this, I can't even say that what you're exposed to is really what you know. I mean, I think I had a great childhood, if you ask me. My mom took me to Disney World. We traveled to New York, Washington. My parents are Jamaican. So we visited Jamaica a lot. And I don't know that I could say that, I had a hard life. But as I got older, and I started thinking back, I'm like, there was a lot of things I wasn't exposed to. But once again, you can't compare anything that you've never seen. And so I commend my parents for doing the best that they can. They divorced very early while in my life. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. I just know that I'm going to give my children the best that I have and more. And if whatever I don't have, I'm going to put them in an environment where they can learn more. Like, I love when my son goes on the iPad. They can only go on the iPad like twice a week. And he's not looking for games. He's not looking for cartoons. He's like, Mommy, here's the map. I don't even know how he knows how to find my house on the map. He legit took the entire map and put in the address and said, Mommy, that's our house. And then he counted 4 houses down and says, okay, that's Rocio's house. I'm like, this is brilliant. And then the other day, he's like, Mom, can we go to Germany? And I'm asking my husband, is that possible? Can we actually go to Germany? He's like, yeah. And so it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you're building very strong characters in your children. And that's so important. This isn't just about inheritance or passing money down. You are building generational legacy, because what they're exposed to, that's the love and that they're going to be able to give to the world. Your impact is drawn into them. I've met your son. Your son is so sweet. 31-year-old. I adore him. Right. And he's such a gentleman, and he's just so He's so humble. He's so human. And that's what you're putting in your children. Not everyone that has built empires the way that you have haven't passed that on all the time. Like some people feel entitled, like that just because you have wealth and that accumulation doesn't necessarily mean you always pass on the character it requires to make global change, to make the community. So I've seen it firsthand. I've met some of the people in your circle. I've met your son, and they're just incredible people. I love the energy that you pass on and you carry forward to them. And that's legacy, you know?
Yeah. I also knew that, they would be in school and people would be calling them legacy, legend. And so almost just like, I can't wait till they really understand the meanings of their names. And just like, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just being a mom, and I just want to make sure that I missed a lot of this growing up with Amari. Even though I was present, like I didn't miss basketball games. I created PTSAs, but I was just never present. You can be in a space and be physically there, but not mentally present. And I think this is what I want to do with these, my new set of children, legend and legacy. I want to be present for them. Like they got track now. I'm like, nope, I can't do it on Saturday. I'll be at track all day. And so I'm enjoying it. It's different. Okay, It's different. I'm a little older, so I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And but it's been great so far. They're funny. I love them. And like they just make me laugh all day. Like they drive me nuts, but they make me laugh too.
They keep you busy. But I love too that like with everything you have going on, you prioritize family.
Yeah.
You prioritize spending that time with them, building the empire and the legacy of time, money, and freedom. Like you can have a lot of money, but a lot of people, if you got money, you ain't got no time.
That's true.
And the vice versa, you might got a lot of time and you ain't got no money, And I see it in how you interact with people, and I see your intentionality for years, and I love that you put the family on the forefront. I mean, it's just incredible to see, and it emulates, it shows in them.
Love it. I appreciate you.
For anyone who wants to join NARU, learn from you, get more connected with True Real Estate, get plugged into your organization, where can they go?
They can go to www.joinnarew.com, joinnarew.com. There, you're going to see it right on the front page, free. The next one is NARU Plus, where if you want to take your business to the next level, you can click on there too, but I'm there every Monday from 9 a.m. to, I'm supposed to be there till 9:30, but most times I go to 10. I always leave a little session for Q&A. And I'll share with you one win that just happened like a few days ago. I had one of the members of the organization call me and say, Claudienne, I need to do a buyer's agreement. I called the seller. He's not interested in listing, but if I have a buyer, what document? And I said, no, that's not what you focus on. I heard what you said, he said, but you stick to your goal. What was the goal when you called him? To list the property. That is what you're going to go in there and do. Here's what we're going to do. The portfolio of assets. So this is like a commercial deal. It's a big deal. Over 1.5 million, which is a big deal in her space in Ohio. And long story short, guess what? I kept redirecting her, because sometimes you limit your belief because somebody now said what they don't want to do. I said, that's not your problem. You have to get the listing. And guess what? She got the listing. And so she's super excited. We helped her position it right on her MLS, LoopNet, Crexy, and all those different places. And I truly believe she's going to sell that asset and probably even do both sides.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. This is incredible.
So that's what we're doing in the community. Like, we're really taking the time to nurture the agents, give them the tools. Right now we're on a 60-day social media campaign marketing contest. And so just getting people in the mode of being present and where it matters the most.
Yeah, it's super important. Guys, if you haven't plugged into Claudienne's circle, you need to do it. She's got the energy, she's got the tenacity, the tools, the systems, the relationships, resources, not just to grow your business as an agent, but to grow your leadership skills, to grow across this industry, to make global impact. So if you haven't connected with Claudienne already, you heard her. Get plugged in, get connected, immerse yourself in her energy, her business. And I appreciate you so much, Claudienne, for coming on here today. This has been awesome. It's a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, Cameron.